Great. Adam, it's good to see you again.
You too, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You ready to give us wisdom?
My version of it, indeed.
So, first of all, tell us who you are, briefly, what you're doing now, a little bit, about a minute of your background would be great.
So basically, I'm an entrepreneur, I suppose. I've been doing different businesses since I was 20, which means I've been doing it for 20 years since I last had a job. Um, the last couple of adventures have been my latest company is an animation company, so we explain how things work. We don't make anything for cinema or television other than commercials, but we make cartoon explainer videos for all kinds of companies, ranging from small startups in Silicon Valley through to Fortune 100 companies, but all animated. And prior to that, I was in finance of all things, so nothing to do with animation. Basically, crowdfunding. I co-founded the first crowdfunding platform in the world, and it's about 7 years old now, and in Australia, and grew that, and then I exited that company a few years ago. So that was a great experience as well, getting to see a huge variety of companies, what worked, what didn't, raising lots of money for those companies and seeing their journey.
Awesome. So, in your perspective, then, what's your definition of what leadership really is?
Look, I think in the context of business, leadership is, I think, inspiring your team and giving them the proper training and resources to, execute at a higher level than they currently can. And a big part of it in the inspiring part. And I think also in the context of business, something that's really been a huge part of particularly my latest company's success in working with a lot of creative people is recognition, making the effort to catch people doing things right as opposed to wrong, and really praising the people for doing good work and making them feel appreciated, because these days that just rarely happens. So I think great leaders subjugate their own ego and are always seeking to build others up, and openly and sincerely thanking people for their efforts. And that's really certainly worked well for me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me too. People will do anything for other people that that will stand up for them and recognize them. That's a great perspective. In your career, I'm sure, like we all have had people that influenced us. Is there a person or maybe two people that have influenced your career more than others?
Well, look, I mean, in my earlier days, I used to read a lot of personal development books and business books and stuff. And it's funny, they're great to read when you've got no experience, but years later, when you reread them and you've got lots of experience, you realize the true wisdom in a lot of those books. And I think a lot of my current, like I'm a small business entrepreneur, I've never really built a large corporation, or I've never worked in one. So I've always built smaller companies in the scale of things. And I think the books that probably most shaped my thinking towards building entrepreneurial business, number one and two, would certainly be The E-Myth by Michael Gerber and Rich Dad Poor Dad by Kiyosaki, which really made me understand the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner, and actually having a business that works without you in it. And these days, I am where I am because I've successfully fired myself over and over. And I think that's the true sign. I remember Richard Branson is somebody I went and saw speak not so long ago, and I remember watching him and thinking, how did a guy like that get to where he is? And you realize you've got to become great at finding great people and trusting them to do their job. And if you don't, you'll always be employed somewhere in your own company, as opposed to actually owning a company that makes you money whether you're there or not. So I suppose those have been my influences in terms of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's actually brilliant. Otherwise, you're working all the time. You're working all the time.
All the time.
How do you? And you've kind of answered this a little bit, but how do you develop a winning culture in an organization?
Well, I think you've got to turn up every day yourself. I mean, obviously physically, but I mean, you've got to turn up and show wherever possible in front of your employees how you want them to treat a client. So, for example, one of the most powerful things in my business is sometimes we work in a creative space, and so there's a lot of we have clients that have varying experience in working through a creative process, and some have got lots of experience, some don't. And then we have all types of different things that we're trying to create video for. So you have this huge range of experiences that people have. And anyway, so back to your point, I look for an opportunity where if there's a customer that I need to fix something with, like for example, we had a customer that was unhappy recently, and she was a very difficult lady, like just almost nothing you could do would make her happy. So with the employees sitting there, I had her on a Skype call like what we're doing now, and I said, listen, just tell me what we need to do to not only make you happy but delighted. What in your mind would need to occur? And that includes us giving you the video for free. But you just tell me, because whatever it's going to take, I'm going to do for you. Because I'd rather have you happy and make no money than you be unhappy and make a profit. So you do what you want, and without any cynicism or without being a smart aleck about it. And my employees just looked at me like, whoa. And I have a policy in my business today that my employees can fix anything for under $200 without asking me. So I said, if you've got an unhappy customer, send them a bunch of flowers for $50. I don't care. Don't even ask me for permission. If it's cost less than $200 and it means the difference between delighted and just okay or happy, just do it. Right. And they hardly ever do it, but showing that faith in the employees to make their own judgment calls and empowering them to make their own judgment calls makes a huge, huge difference. And if they do screw up, see that as an opportunity to put an investment in the relationship bank account. Story with Tom Watson from IBM, and the guy screwed up. I think the guy cost the company $3 million, and in the board meeting, the guy said, well, I suppose you're going to fire me now. And Tom Watson said, you got to be kidding. I just invested $3 million in your education.
Exactly.
Looking for opportunities, a little bit, being a bit contrarian and trying not to be impulsive, and really putting whatever your values are, putting them on display in real settings with your customers. Putting faith in the customer and putting faith in your employees. If you assume everyone's going to do the wrong thing, they probably will. But if you assume that people are going to appreciate sincerity, they genuinely do. So,
we use a phrase, not to belabor this, we use a phrase, from breakdown comes opportunity.
Right.
And anybody can have a great attitude when things are going great, but who comes through when you need to, like you're talking about. Right. So
exactly.
That's pretty awesome. So, who do you go to for advice then?
Well, one of the things is, Mark, I've been in the US now for a little over 2 years, and I've been extremely active in building networks because I landed in the country and didn't know anyone, and now I'm proud to say, contrary to many people's opinions of LA, and with the exception of myself, I've met some really good people.
There's plenty.
I'm just waiting to in that circle. So I've met and built really good network of entrepreneurs. And when I got to the country, I sort of had a policy of say yes to everything, say yes to every invitation, and make the effort that when you meet somebody, like when I met you, get their card and actually call them afterwards and say, hey, would you like to have a coffee? And not with any agenda, and say, tell me about you and what do you do? And I found that by doing that, I've managed to build a really good network of entrepreneurs. And if I respect somebody, I tell them, I'll say, look, I really respect what you've achieved. And you'll be amazed how many doors that opens when you, again, subjugate your ego, recognize people who are more experienced than you, and ask permission to, check in with them for advice. And I've asked all sorts of people here, like, I'm looking at investing in real estate at the moment, and the two young guys that own the building our company's in, very successful property developers, a Jewish family that's done extremely well here. And I just said to them, I really admire where you guys are in life. I'd love to be where you are today. Would you mind, sharing some tips with me at some point? And they're just so open to helping if you're open to being,
a person,
not an ego person, or just being real. Yeah. So.
No,
I've managed to just attract some very good people as a result of that, and running events, as you know, I'll put events on, and makes a big difference. So yeah.
No, good for you. I like that. I like that a lot. So you said makes a big difference. How do you make a difference out there?
I think for me at the moment where I am, I'm still building my career. I'm only 40, so I'm still very focused in building businesses. So much of my giving has so far has been I sort of one of my mentors very early on was Jim Rohn, who's now deceased, but Jim Rohn was a fantastic speaker, and he used to say that in life you should have somebody that mentors you, you should have your peers, and you should be mentoring down, as in giving back to people, back down the road. And that to me is something that always stuck with me. So I give back to younger entrepreneurs all the time. I give a lot of my time helping them out, sending them an email if I can see where they're going off track, just completely unsolicited. I'll do that. And I'll invite them to things, and I'll put people in touch with other people just for no reason. I'll just say, hey, you should meet this person. There's nothing in it for me. So on the business side, I put on events quite often, as you know, breakfast. We did the tour to Las Vegas last year. And I do those not for any profit, just to put good people together. Outside of that, I've been a lender to Kiva for a few years now. I've done a couple of hundred loans through Kiva, which are micro loans to entrepreneurs in third world countries. And I love that concept because the money keeps giving. You can give $20, they pay the $20 back, and you just re-lend it. So the same money just touches so many people over a period of time. It's my favourite charity, has been for a while. And of the 200 loans that I've done, I think I've only had one that wasn't repaid, and that was because the person was killed in ethnic cleansing. So everyone else has repaid me. So, it certainly gives you perspective if you can do that.
That's for sure. That's real perspective. All right, a couple of last really quick questions. You've heard this before. You have leaders that you've admired, past or present. Is there one that you'd love to have dinner with?
Yes, but he's passed. But if I could have, I would have loved to spend some time with Steve Jobs. I loved his relentless, even though he was a bit, unlikable according to those close to him. The guy was brilliant and certainly had a sense of his destiny while he was here, and he was prepared to sacrifice what other people thought of him for making the most of his time here in pursuit of his very large calling. I just love how committed he was to his vision, and I think Apple is a testament to his focus.
Absolutely. So, a couple of quickies. Do you have a favorite sport?
Well, since I'm in America now, I have to take an American sport. So, of your sports, definitely the NBA. I enjoy that the most. And my favorite is probably NRL, which is a code of football played in Australia. It's like NFL, but without the
pads. It's real hard-nosed football. Is what it is.
It's real football. Oh yeah, they could have those.
What about do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Probably my favorite TV show is Breaking Bad. I absolutely love that show, or The Sopranos, I would have to say. So yeah.
You see the streak. There's a theme there. What about favorite type of music?
Favorite music, Dave Matthews Band, hands down.
Awesome. All right. And what food do you eat while you're listening to Dave Matthews?
Favorite foods would probably be sushi and Caribbean, probably.
Sweet. All right.
The Caribbean.
Well, I appreciate your perspectives with an accent, I may add. So thanks a lot for the time, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for taking the time.